you know those moments when you look back and you think, man, I wish someone would have told me about that. I wouldn't have wasted hours and hours or years of my time doing something that's not really working. Well, I wish I had all that information, and that's why I started up this channel. But today I'm going to give you really truthful information about fitness. No BS, the full facts about 10 things I wish I knew. Hello fam, and welcome to my channel. My name's Melissa Neal, and this channel is all about helping you if you're a woman over 40 or like me over 50 get in amazing shape. But why should you listen to anything I have to say? Why should you listen to the things that I wish I knew earlier? Well, now I've helped over 10,000 women transform their bodies over 40. So not only have I worked on my own body and hundreds of coaching clients too, and I've put this all together for the 10 things that I wish I knew. And you want to stay right until the end, because number 6 is going to completely surprise you, and it's something you wouldn't have even thought of. Can you guess what it is? So I'm going to talk about number 1. Did you ever find when you hit over the age of 40, you're kind of continually waking up in the night and not being able to go back to sleep? Like 3 o'clock, you're like wide awake. It's really annoying, isn't it? Well, I'm going to be talking about the number 1 thing, which is sleep. Sleep is really underrated, but also it's really hard to get a good night's sleep when you're over 40. But why do I wish I knew it? Well, I completely underestimated the power of sleep. Sleep is really restorative. Sleep can help you build muscle, and it can help you lose fat. And by the way, you know, if you're worried about building muscle and getting bulky, it's virtually impossible when you reach over the age of 40 to get bulky. We're just talking about putting back the muscle that you've lost through the aging process. If you're only getting 5 or 6 hours of sleep per night, it's going to be really hard to lose fat and build muscle, and it's going to wreak havoc with your hormones. And I wish I knew this 7 years ago when I started on my fitness journey, because I didn't focus on sleep. And once I started focusing on sleep, I found fat loss much easier, but also I felt a lot better. And it's about putting in sleep hygiene strategies. So if you want a video on this, do comment below and I'll make one. The number 2 thing, big mistake I was making when it comes to training, is not eating before training or fueling my body correctly, and actually training on an empty stomach and going for hours without eating afterwards as well. So why is that a problem? Well, particularly with lifting weights. If you're lifting weights, you're going to need some sort of food in your system to give you performance with your workout. So in other words, if you've eaten something, you're actually going to lift heavier, the intensity of your training is going to be better, and therefore you're going to be building muscle more successfully. And the more muscle you build, the more your body is just going to turn into a fat burning machine. So if you're not eating correctly, and I know I get tons of comments, I know you're going to leave one, that lady that wakes up at 5 in the morning and isn't hungry, so perhaps you want to have a banana and a protein shake as a drink before training. But I promise you, when I implemented this, it made a massive difference, and I could see literally my body transforming before my eyes when I started to eat prior to training. And even with cardio, what you can find if you haven't eaten beforehand is it's a whole lot harder. And now the studies are coming out that used to tell you to kind of do things like fasted cardio, and definitely I used to get my clients to do this, and actually it doesn't make any difference, because what you're going to find is if you've eaten something, your performance actually improves. So any extra fat burning that you might have got from doing it on an empty stomach is going to be mitigated. The other key hack when you're lifting weights is to remember to eat afterwards as well, because that means if you put protein and carbohydrate into your body afterwards, you're going to get protein synthesis, and you're also going to get your glycogen stores restored. So it's really important. Number 3, before I started weightlifting seriously, I used to think that weightlifting and lifting heavy even was going to make me bulky. And I get plenty of women saying to me, I don't want to go too heavy, Melissa, because I don't want to get bulky. It is literally impossible to get bulky when you're menopausal or a woman over 40, because you're losing muscle at a rate of 1% per year. So nature, what's going to happen is you're going to gradually lose muscle if you don't do anything about it. So if you're seriously strength training, even like me, you're pretty much just restoring what you had in your younger days. Yes, you might have a bit more muscle tone. You can see I've got a bit more muscle tone, but I'm certainly not bulky. If you're doing it naturally, it's literally impossible to get what's called bulky. You're just going to get a nice defined shape. And importantly, your body's just going to turn into a fat burning machine. So having a little bit more muscle on you as you grow older will mean that you improve your metabolism. So stop worrying about getting too muscular and focus on the lifting weights and going as heavy as you possibly can without losing form. The number 4 thing I wish I knew is an amazing supplement that is absolutely fantastic for menopausal women. And I did not know this. I started taking creatine back around 5 years ago to compete in bodybuilding shows because a coach recommended to me. Now, creatine is an absolutely natural supplement that is actually found in beef. But I've had clients be really resistant about taking creatine because they believe it's a performance enhancing drug. Maybe they're going to get bulky on it, maybe they're going to get water retention. None of those things are true. It's actually really good for muscle building, but it's really good for your cognitive function as well. So now doctors are actually recommending it for menopausal women, just regular menopausal women, not stage competitors, absolutely everyone. And I recommend creatine to my clients. And it's really one of the most studied supplements out there. And, you know, athletes use it. It's really been proved to help your performance in the gym. So if you're lifting weights, maybe you're doing high intensity interval training as well, it's really going to boost your performance in the gym, and it's going to help with muscle building. And as I've said, your brain function. So 5 grams, that's 1 scoop a day, that's all you need, and it's going to give you huge benefits as a menopausal woman. The number 5 thing I wish I knew was not being extreme. So in other words, making your fitness sustainable in the long term. Because if you can make your fitness, your nutrition, everything sustainable in the long term, you're going to get much better results than doing something for a short space of time and falling off and then like doing whatever, regaining the shape that you had before, and then you've got to start it all over again. Much better to just have something sustainable in the long term. I used to be super strict, super perfect, and now I'm not. I actually adopt the 80-20 rule, which is about being really on point 80% of the time, and then allowing myself treats, allowing myself kind of time off from training. And so what has that resulted in? Me achieving much better success by just being consistent 80% of the time. Number 6 is, I wonder if you could guess it, I talked about it at the start, it might surprise you. Be careful who you follow online, because not everyone is giving you true information. So sometimes you can see someone online and they look like they've got a great physique, but they're like taking performance enhancing drugs. Or you see someone online and you don't realise how long their body transformation has taken. And a lot of dishonest influencers are now being called out because they're not actually being entirely honest about their own personal situation. So always take it with a pinch of salt. Now, I know I'm an influencer, so you might sort of think, well, what about you, Melissa? But I promise you, I give you completely straight down the line, no BS, truthful information that's going to help you get towards your goal. And of course, I'm not perfect, and that's why I talk about the 80-20 rule. So I'm not painting a picture of somebody that's absolutely perfect with a perfect physique. And you know, if you see somebody like that, it might actually make you think, there's a red flag here. Or if they have got a perfect physique, it's going to be really, really hard for you to achieve something like that unless you go really extreme. And I used to look at women online, especially when I started competitive bodybuilding. So I used to look at women who might be going into the same shows and looking at their prep, because they cover all their prep, and I think, oh, they look really amazing. And actually what it did is it really did my head in, and it was no good at all and really not great for my mindset. And I always find, focus on yourself, being the best possible version of you. That's what you want to be doing, and only take your information from trusted sources. Number 7 thing I wish I knew was not following fitness trends. The old tried and tested methods generally work, and the kind of new fad things, they're just fads, aren't they? And you know, diets in particular go in and out of fashion, don't they? We've had the keto diet, that's like actually getting not so popular now. I even tried the paleo diet, and any diet really with a name probably isn't going to get you the result you want, or it will only get you the result that you want in the short term. Having a sustainable way that you can eat in the long term is a much better plan. So that's why I talk about high protein eating. I get my clients to practice high protein eating. I do high protein eating myself, and it's actually not too restrictive. I still get to eat the foods that I enjoy, you know, in moderation, and you know, it's really easy for me to stick to in the long term. And fad diets, fashions, they go in and out of fashion. And then, does anyone remember Atkins? No one does it now, do they? Although that's turned into keto. So, you know, they go in and out of fashion for a reason, because they're a fad. They're not something that you can stick to in the long term. The number 8 thing I wish I knew is small things can add up to something great. So sometimes making some small changes can make a significant difference to your progress. And I kind of stopped doing things that are really extreme. So I'll give you an example. Maybe you're implementing a little bit of cardio, and I get my clients to do a small amount of cardio exercise. And then if we need to increase it, you know, just to get a little bit of extra fat burning, we might increase it by 5 minutes, just a tiny little amount. And you think, well, what does 5 minutes make a difference? But it does make a difference. So sometimes small changes can make a massive difference and huge amounts of leaps and bounds to your progress. Things like doing 1 extra rep in the gym or putting the weight up by a pound can also make a massive difference. Don't think that you've got to put the weight up by like 10 pounds or 5 kilos to see progress. Just small amounts will make a difference. And when you're thinking about hitting your protein target, so I like women to have 1 gram of protein per pound in body weight, think about doing that most days. As long as you're doing it most days, it's going to make a big impact. Number 9 is a huge game changer. And I often speak to my women about this, and they're really surprised that I recommend this. And that is incorporating rest days. So why are rest days important? Why should you do them? Well, as you get older, your body needs more recovery time. So you don't want to be training and working out 7 days a week. Yes, you can do gentle exercise on your rest day, so like walking, yoga, maybe like swimming, as long as it's not really fast length swimming, gentle swimming's fine. But you want to be having 1, 2, maybe even 3 rest days per week where you're not doing intense exercise. We need more recovery time, and especially when we're talking about lifting weights, because lifting weights, actually when your muscle grows, is when you're resting. If you're not resting, you're not giving your muscles an opportunity to grow. So just remember that. And I have maybe 1, 2, 3 rest days a week. I also do rest whole weeks. So I have them 3 or 4 times a year, usually when I'm on vacation, I don't work out, and then I build in a rest day for 7 days. The number 10 thing I wish I knew is how much hormones play into all this. So when you're menopausal, when you're over 40, because it can still affect you even if you're not going through menopause, your hormones like estrogen, progesterone and testosterone are all depleting, and it has a massive impact on your body fat percentage. In other words, your weight. Most women are going to gain on average about 20 pounds. So that's about like 8 kilos. It could be less and it could be more. That's just the average during the time of menopause, when they hit their sort of 40s and 50s. And so that's really because of hormones, and other hormones come into play. Cortisol comes into play. So if you're stressed and your cortisol levels rise, it's going to mess with all your other hormones, and then it's going to be really difficult to lose weight. So we shouldn't underestimate the power that hormones have, and we do need to give ourselves grace and understand that reducing our stress levels and sleeping are really going to be hugely beneficial to women at this stage in life. But also eating the right nutrition when it comes to this stage in life will also impact on your hormones. And if you want to know more about nutrition, I've got a video here coming up which will explain some of the 10 foods that I love to incorporate that are really going to help balance your hormones and help you see progress when it comes to fat loss over 40.